It helps a little bit, but as you can see, this is far from perfect. Not every time this sprinkler rotates the way it's supposed to. They are very finicky. So I not intend to have them around in the future. The better alternative are these wobblers. At least that's what I think. We have had bad experience with these sprinklers. We never liked them. It might be that the model that is being sold here is the reason, or it's simply the way they are. They also do not wet an area evenly. So basically you have to set them up in such a way that their circles overlap, and then you get coverage. So it's not that you put one in an area and then you have, say, 500 square meters irrigated. You basically have less or need two. Because you see, there is an area in the center, there, in between, where nothing falls. And sure, the thing moves, and then the other area gets also irrigated, but it's difficult. So the closer you are, yeah. So it never works out as you want. In theory, it might. Or it is that these that we get here are of low quality and are damaged easily here and there. They topple over, and sure, that might cause some damage. And then the thing does not work anymore. So that's not reliable. And that is my main problem, that this is not reliable. But it does help a little bit, because it is still better than to have to stand here for an hour and do this manually. So I probably have to give this thing a little boost. And it does not move, as you can see. I don't like this. And this is the one that we used elsewhere, and it was working perfectly fine for a good while in the other location. So, not good. Well, today has been an interesting day with quite a few challenges of very important things. Irrigation can be a huge problem if it does not work as you would expect. And when you're missing the water, then things quickly turn south. So let me show you around and talk a little bit about what happened and what we did to mitigate. So this thing up there can be pretty brutal, and if you do not have enough irrigation in place, or soil that is deep and full of water stored deep inside, then plants quickly stop growing and what seems to be a lush garden quickly turns into something really bad. Pardon the wind. Can't do anything about it. It's a thermal going off. So let me talk you through this and show you around. Here are some vetiver pieces. Those are already separated, and tomorrow morning we want to plant all these over there in the wannabe food forest. So I just mentioned this because I was stepping by this. So you see we have 3 sprinklers in here, and we had a problem. So over the weekend something happened, and it usually happens around this time of the year. So we had this last year also. But of course last year our problem was water for the animals to drink, and it was not water for irrigation. So in a nutshell, we ran out of water. Now there are 2 things to consider or to understand. One is we have 2 wells, shallow wells. They are 8 meters deep. There is a cavern, and this cavern fills with water overnight, and usually both are full in the morning and we can start irrigating again. Now one of these wells is at the outflow of the water reservoir, and this has been the main source for all irrigation. So we have been pumping out of this until it was empty, and the next morning we have been repeating this, and everything was cool and worked well until Saturday. So basically yesterday, definitely there started to be a problem, and today we tried to correct this. So the idea is to shift the load from that well to the other well that has the big pond also next to it. Now what we did is, I think I should go up there and show you this from the beginning. So see you up there. So let's start here. So down there you can see the solar panels of the well, and further to the right, there where the shadow is, there is that huge pond. It holds roughly 1 million liters of water, I approximate. It is 3.5 meters deep, and when it was dug in August, not this August, a while back, it filled itself up 1.5 meters with water that seeped in from the ground. So all this ground there apparently does hold water, but of course it is tucked away in the depth of the concrete soil, so below the concrete layer. And that is also the source for this well there. This well is about 8 meters deep. Most of them are, so I have not measured this one, but another one, and I think this is the same way. And like I said, there is this cavern, and this cavern gets filled by the water seeping in from the ground around it. And what we did today, in order to mitigate the problem, we installed a new pipe. So this pipe runs directly to this well. There is a T, and the other pipe goes there and up the tower to maintain this tower full. And at the outflow of this tower, there is a shut-off valve. So there's a shut-off valve, and there is a valve that does not allow a check valve, so the water cannot flow from below up into the tower. So when the buoy on top, so there is an automated system that works with the buoy, when that closes, then the pressure that the pump down there generates goes via the bypass and a water line that somehow runs behind all this, and now also this pipe. gets the pressure directly from the pump. So we installed this line. We had to patch a little bit, so there are a few pieces here. This one is 40 millimeter and this one is 32, so 1 inch and 1 inch and a quarter, I think. So we patched this together, and now over there we connected the existing sprinklers. So let me take you there and continue when I'm there. So here, before I talk about the challenges that we encountered, let me explain you this. So here there is a straight coupling, and we will replace this tomorrow with a T, so that the vetiver over there can also be irrigated and things are back to normal, but from a different water source. So this pipe was down there and it was connected to the big pipe that came up here all the way around and to the outflow of the water reservoir, to this very, very powerful pump. And it was also driving this. And now this pipe is the connection to there, and we will make a T so that we can have water here. And also the Palovnia tomentosa, the single one there, will also need frequent watering. So that is what we need to finish. But what we have is this new 1 inch pipe that runs all the way down here. And here we basically have the very same installation as we had there. So this moved to here. This pipe was originally connected there to the animal waterer, which is now without function. This will be moved to a different place. So this will not be the place anymore for the horses and sheep to drink. After all, they prefer to drink next to Sakahawea, so we will place this there. Makes more sense. So they can be together and don't have to split. And now the thing here is that we have the same connection, but there's a problem. The pump that we have in the well, that is apparently bigger or has more inflow from outside, so it has more capacity at the end, is not as powerful as the one from down at the outflow of the water reservoir. So initially, when we bought this pump, we told them we need a pump to fill up this this water tower, and they installed a pump that is used for this kind of application. So it lifts the water up, has power enough to do this, but it was never meant for irrigation, because around here nobody irrigates. We are the only one that are trying to irrigate something. People have a garden and things like that, so you can water with a little bit of water, and usually these shallow wells are used to provide drinking water to the animals. When you don't have it solar power, you have it gas power, so that means you come, fill up this 3000 liter water tower, and then after a few days you repeat this process. And that was the way like it was when we bought this land here. And then we installed a solar pump just to have it automated and the tank always full, so that we also have water in the house and all these things. And a lot of the things that we are doing now have never been part of the plan. So now we have to adapt and adjust. So now the problem is that the power of this pump is only enough to drive 2 of the sprinklers and not 3. So now we have a problem. We have a pump that is very powerful in a place where there is not enough water, and we have plenty of water in a place where there is not such a powerful pump. We cannot simply move the pump, because the powerful pump needs 5 solar panels, while the other one only needs 2. So this is a lot of work, and we don't have grid connection. We are off grid, so everything works off the sun, and our solar system also is a bit limited. It needs to be made bigger and more powerful, and that will happen by moving it into this cortijo, into the stole building. This building will be modified a little bit, and there is a room that stays cool, and there we will install the batteries and the inverter and all that stuff. It was not done in the first place because this building was kind of earmarked for demolition and replacement, but plans change, and I don't like to create a big plan and do all kinds of things in a planned fashion and then figure out, oh, now I need something else. Why have I removed this and that? So the idea is to thread carefully and do things when absolutely needed and work around it, because you never know. So I'm very thankful that this is still standing, because now there is a need to use it. And it makes sense, because it is insulated, it is cool in summer. Of course, it will be cold in winter, but heat is easier than cooling a building. So, enough of that. So, we cannot simply replace the pump. And that is because we either have not enough solar panels at the location, there are only 2 and it needs 5, and we don't have 220 volts, which is what this pump likes if it is on a grid. So we cannot easily do this. Eventually we will be able, but this requires to build a trench, and there are plans to pipe a trench next to these roads and all kinds of really good professional construction. We are working on things behind the scenes, but of course this is not something to be done quickly. So basically we put this line here to try it, get us some water. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but these sprinklers, and I really don't like them, they are a pain in the butt. They require high pressure, and there's also a problem. This particular one here stopped moving. So if you do not use them for 2 or 3 days, and in this case it has been just 1 day, basically overnight, they somehow stop rotating because of water residue. Needs to be cleaned and all this. There are too many moving parts. So now I can also report that I got a reply from the company Seneca from the US, and they put me in touch with a representative, that is a distributor that sells their product line here in Spain. They are located in Barcelona. I already got a catalog with pricing and all this. So one word about Spain. So if you talk to people in Barcelona or Madrid, everything goes quick, as you would expect. It is in these large population centers of Spain where things do work. If you are far away in the middle of nowhere like we are, things are not the same. But now I have a source, and I'm in the process of ordering wobblers. And once these wobblers arrive, we will do, like I mentioned before, this experiment to understand what this really means, how much wobblers we can connect at the same time. And after this experiment has been thoroughly performed, the first place to actually put these wobblers into production is right here. And until then, there are 2 sprinklers that are working, and the rest has to be irrigated using the hose in the second session. So it's a step back, but then we have water and all this can go. So that is the big news here. But of course it also required a lot of other modification, and we are not done yet. So tomorrow we will do a little bit more. So here you see the screen hose that is used to irrigate that part. And I moved a little bit around a few of these gardening hoses so that we can have one that is longer and now goes all the way around the house, because there are also plants that need water. This is manual irrigation, so someone has to be here and do this. But of course now the irrigation gets spread out a little bit, because now everything hangs on the other well. So that means it's a sequence that is now a little bit longer because you cannot irrigate in parallel. So before it was possible to turn this on. It was fed by the pump at the outflow of the water reservoir, and over there in the future dock enclosure that could be irrigated manually in parallel because there was two different sources. Now it is the very same. So that means let the garden be irrigated and then do the other part, one after another. But it's okay. It is a temporary thing, and eventually all these places will have wobblers, and the place to control these wobblers from will be there from the cortijo. So there will be the electrical room and then the watering room, and in the watering room there will be a rainbird controller that controls electric valves, and then all the pipes that are fed from a pump powerful enough will then be come from there. So it's basically a spoke and hub thing. So there will be water central, and from there the lines will then go to the different places within the compound, only the compound. And the plan is to put the very powerful pump in either the existing pond or into a pond that is to be dug, and this pond will be dug somewhere over there. So in this back part where we have another seasonal creek, the idea is that heavy rains over autumn, winter and spring should fill it up. That is what usually happens. And then we have probably another 2 million liters of water there, and this powerful pump can then be used to move the water to other locations, including down here. And we have a third pump of the same type, like the one that turned out not to be enough. So that's the one that we are going to install down at the outflow of the water reservoir to irrigate areas that are closer by. So for example, the Miyawaki forest probably can be irrigated with that. We will see how this turns out. So now we have mitigated the issue. Tomorrow we will finish connecting the T, and we also need to finish a modification. To finish a modification over there in the wannabe food forest. Right now, from an accident, there is quite a bit of water standing there, but we need the drip irrigation around this berm to work again, because right now this is disconnected. So we will also do this, and our plan, Juan and I want to do this tomorrow morning, is to plant the other vetiver around this very same berm here in the center. And then we will continue with more and more vetiver there. So between the wannabe food forest, which is B2, and B3 on the other side of that fence, all this should become an area full of vetiver. I like that idea that we can open a gate and put a string there like the one that you see, and let the horses or donkeys or similar animals forage there at the end of summer. It's kind of the end of summer ration, and vetiver does good, can be used for many different things, and why not plant it especially for foraging in this more demanding part of the year. So that is the immediate plan. What I can also mention is that the cows will get their second vaccination later this week, and then we will ship the adults. So we will sell the adults and keep the calves. The idea is to fatten the calves ourselves. We are going to build step by step a place for this. We have a corral where we can start, and while they grow we build also a structure which then will also be handy in the future. And sure, we need to buy straw and the additional feed, but for a couple of calves that's not so bad. And at the end we will sell the calves when they have reached sufficient weight. As we were doing the modifications, we placed an L piece there, so that line that comes from the outflow of the water reservoir can continue to feed via this line with the shut-off valve. This area B1 here, where the Bolognias here and there need a little bit of irrigation. So there's a drip irrigation installed. Every 2 weeks when it's very dry, or once a month, we turn this on. They are now a little bit older and have a root system. And now the wind is very, very strong. So they should be able to sustain themselves most of the time. But now at the end of summer, when it's really, really dry, so we are getting into August now, that is the moment when we need to help them a little bit. And therefore we wanted to keep this alive. And we will see how this continues with these modifications. First we need to run the experiment with the wobblers, and then we can decide. So right now we are just mitigating the issue and fixing things so that everything can continue to work as it is without creating something new. My hope is that the wobblers will then give us a lot more opportunity to do this right. Keep in mind, this was not a farm where you do things with plants. This was ranching in an open forest called the Dehesa. So to have an irrigation line is something very unusual. So now we are getting more serious with that. What I should also mention is we need someone creating compost, and the dogs won't do it. So these calves in that kind of a feedlot will provide us the compost via a deep bedding system that we will start there. So when there is forage outside, meaning autumn, winter and spring, they can take care of the grasses outside, and then in summer again they will be inside of this feedlot and provide in a deep bedding system compost that we then use for the trees.